The Golf Biz with Mikey D, Drew, and the crew. Management, marketing, myths, and morons. Hope we make you smile.
Welcome to the Golf Biz. I'm Joe Dahlstrom with Mikey D, Drew, and the crew, where our one and only goal is to make you smile as we share our story of owning, operating, and marketing golf courses all over America. Welcome, Drew.
What's going on, Joe? Mikey?
Absolutely. Well, we got an amazing episode today. We got somebody that is way, way, way smarter than us. We definitely will not be able to go ahead and fool him. But today we're going to talk about building a successful worldwide brand in the golf industry. We have Jeff Colton, highly successful executive within Callaway for 20 years, right?
18, yeah.
18 years. Absolutely. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Great to be here.
Cool. Well, Jeff, we start every episode with just the birdie of the week and the bogey of the week, what went good and what wasn't so good. So we'll give you a little bit time to think about it. We'll start with Drew over here. Drew, what do we got?
Yeah, my birdie, for anybody that watched, well, I think it was back in November, the other episode when they did kind of the impromptu Masters. My birdie is I now know where the Masters is at every year. Kind of something that everyone in golf should know.
This guy's on our golf podcast?
It's a very small thing. Bogey is that we kind of skipped the spring weather here in Arizona. It went from like 60, 70 degrees all the way up to 90. We're just like it did from summer to winter. It went from 110 to 70. Now we just kind of skipped all the in between, and things are getting warm, days are getting long, but it's going to be fun. We've got all the winter visitors heading back home, and everybody local is going to be coming out having a good time this summer.
Absolutely. Mikey D, what about you, birdie and bogey?
So not much for Stokes here in South Florida, but definite a big-time birdie this week, maybe even a double eagle. We could add an albatross here at the Nash, baby, because so the ownership visited just about a month ago, loved it. He saw men, women, old folks, young folks, everybody out here. It was a giant party. It was super cool. He said that his father, the chairman, were alive. He'd be doing backflips. So he sent down his vice chair and CEO to come check out the property. And it is now approved for a new clubhouse here at the Nash. And don't think of a traditional like clubhouse with locker rooms and you know fancy dining areas. We're talking straight up full-on entertainment activity areas, golden tees, pool, hitting bays, full top tracer. It is going to be epic here. So super cool.
Perfect. Well, the bogey I'm going to say for Mikey on that particular one is the numerous things that will go operationally wrong when that new clubhouse actually does
and the
come
insurance
into play.
policy.
Exactly. No question. Yeah. The liability insurance. Absolutely.
Hey, there's a bonus birdie in there too, because I'm looking forward to all the amazing smash at the Nash when you start to demo stuff.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. It will be super cool. It is actually.
Yeah, that is true. Hey, so I was thinking full-on rage room. What do you say? I mean, I heard you could get thousands for a full-on rage room, bro. I think we got something there.
Yeah.
You can actually make money in demolition these days.
They might put your face up in that range room, though, the team and stuff, or the customers, with the way you oversell the golf course.
Right.
But anyway, it is going to be super cool. It's actually a design that Mike and I talked about a long time. We'll talk about it on different episodes. So, Jeff, your birdie and bogey.
Birdie would be, I'm out on the road again, traveling. Like, it feels good to travel, and it's been a long time, and I enjoy it, and, I've always done it in business globally, but just domestically, and it feels good to it's sadly weird to get on, feel good to get on an airplane, but just getting out and seeing people,
Cool.
It feels really good.
Good. Bogey.
Bogey, you know what? Here it is. I bought an asset last week, a vehicle, and I'm trying to rush mail the paperwork and the payoff, I bought it used. And I used the United States Postal Service instead of FedEx. And it's supposed to get there on Monday, right? I sent it on Thursday or something. And I'm still getting texts saying it's not lost. Apparently they still have it, but it's like, I know why now it only cost $8, and at FedEx it would have cost me $45. I mean, sorry to slam the U.S. Postal Service, but geez, living up to your reputation. Man.
Exactly.
That's a bogey. That's a double.
Exactly. But I think it's on you though, because the post office is the post office.
Yeah, it kind of is. I know. So it's on me.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Right. So my birdie is Las Vegas as the golf market's getting better. Jeff, we spent a lot of time up there. We'll talk about your new role too with Mr. Walters. But it's really good to see Las Vegas getting back to even close to being normal with the influx of people, the type of people, and the type of business. So that's really exciting. The bogey is that I didn't get a new set of golf clubs for, I don't know, 18 years. Now I bought like 4 in the last month, and I hate them all. So I'm looking for that perfect set that will actually make a lousy shot be a good one. So that's another reason we want you on the show today, because we'd like you to design maybe something like that for me.
Okay. I'm not a magician.
And not just that, there's been like 6 different sets of grips on each of those 4 clubs too. So you're really tearing through it.
Yeah. I don't have to share the adage with you. The Indian, not the arrows. Right?
No, I know. Yeah. But,
Well, 18 years between trade up, no, you should see a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, no, absolutely cool. So let's get started. Like I said, it's building a successful worldwide brand in the golf industry. We've had a lot of different people on here. We've had longtime PGA professionals. We've had people aspiring to be on the PGA Tour, national championships at Oklahoma State, the most famous golf YouTubers. And, this one is totally different, right? Because we kind of could at least fake it with all of them, what they were going to talk about, right? And what you're going to talk about is something that we all really like, but we actually sell it off as nerd stuff just because we aren't good at it or know much about it. So,
okay.
But, you spent, so why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about how you got into golf and how you ended up even starting with Callaway?
Okay, sure. Yeah, so I was going to school, and I have a degree in physics. I was kind of going down an engineering path and biomed, and then stumbled into just a lucky event. I was going home from LA to San Diego weekly to play on the weekends at Torrey Pines, and just got hooked up randomly with a guy who worked at Callaway. And after 3 or 4 months of haranguing, harassing emails and phone calls, they finally, out of just desperation, offered me a job at the newly opened test center in the fall of '94. Oh. And so I had played in college. I played college golf, and I had a degree in physics, and I hadn't even thought about designing golf clubs. Duh. Right? Yeah. And so I just fell into it, and it turned into a phenomenal 18-year run at a phenomenal company at Callaway.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very cool.
Yeah, no, that's so you were doing the actual design then for all of the clubs when you were there, or just helping kind of oversee a team, or like what exactly were you doing there?
I never worked at a CAD station. I never did actual computer-aided design or anything. I was more on the testing side to begin with, and the analytics and kind of, design principles and things like that, and then kind of moved into team leadership and management and product development, and I did all the jobs in R&D pretty much, but I was never an actual real designer.
Right. Well, you did the hard part, right? In theory, right? You had to actually give the people that were building it the data and the thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And what to do. And so when you started, because you rose to be the senior vice president of the global Callaway brand, which is way more than just clubs, So, but when you just started out, when you like your first job there, what was it? Exactly.
So I was called a research assistant, and I get to the test center about 5 a.m. And I mean, you could look back at yourself, you're just like, what an idiot. And I was wearing a hat, and golf shoes and whatever, and dressing the part, and rolling up the doors at dawn, pre-dawn, and hitting shots with a robot and tracking the data with the camera systems, and then doing the analysis on the test. So, so much of the product design and development was done in an actual physical prototype test loop, right? Yeah. You'd make a club, you'd wait 2 or 3 months to have it made, bring it in, test it. Okay, we see what it does, we make a modification, bring it back, test it. And it took, months. And now, right, it's a huge amount of it is done all analytically. So we're able to model all that. And so this iteration of the design and perfection loop is so much tighter. You still physically test clubs, obviously, on the robot, but also with players. But it's as much now about the aesthetic and the feel and the sound elements, because all of the hard part, the physics part's been done in the computer.
Right. Yeah.
It's just done, they're using artificial intelligence now, right? It's part of the marketing platform now, too.
Yeah.
AI, like these face designs are so complex that supercomputers are doing them.
So, like you compared it to today compared to back then. So, was there the computer algorithm software back then, or was it more just calculations made by
Yeah, there was some, but not nearly what you have today. It was a lot of just kind of still grinding things out in Excel. It's not like we were using an abacus, right?
Yeah,
or slide
right.
rule, but still, it's very different today.
Yeah.
The tool sets are incredible, what they use today to design clubs with.
Was it just robots too back then that you were testing it on? Or
Well, you had robots for actual swinging the clubs, and we would have I think we had 6 or 8 cages where you lock a club in and you just fire balls out of a cannon at 200 miles an hour. Durability testing, both the head and the shaft.
Wow.
And you'd move the point where it hits the face all over the place, and so durability testing too. So they weren't robots, but very important part of golf is durability.
For sure. And I really liked what you said just a second ago too, because we were talking before this episode about how I've just kind of recently stepped into golf, and something I always heard, when I was at Dobson Ranch, people looking to buy new clubs and these things, and hearing about, everyone looks at the brand new line from all the companies, and to hear how passionately people didn't like certain things just because of how it looks when they're standing over the club or standing over it. So, and another piece of that too is seeing these companies come out with new clubs, new lines, and sort of revisions every year. You hear a little bit of both. So I'd be interested kind of for your perspective, obviously being someone who looked at the data and who helped design those things. How much of a difference is there really year to year compared to how kind of people say, it's really just the same technology, reskinned, got a slightly thinner bevel or whatever it might be. Like how much of a difference really did you typically see from year to year, from line to line?
Yeah. It was material. We put a lot of, Callaway spent over 3% of their annual revenues on R&D, for $1 billion plus company at the time. That was a lot of dough, right?
Yeah.
So there's real work going on there.
For sure.
And real analysis and a lot of testing. But it depends on players too. The average golfer, it's tough to resolve differences in year-over-year models typically, unless you have a big platform change, like, we found a new metal, or hey, we went from 365 cc's up to the max of 460. I think it's 460. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But the rules limit the size you can make a club head. So there you have changes like that. Certainly Big Bertha was that in 1991.
Yeah.
Just dramatically. And now Big Bertha, I forget what the actual cubic centimeter volume of it is, but it's smaller than most 3-woods.
Yeah.
Today,
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, but there's real differences. I'd say I've been so impressed. I left a bit jaded about that, thinking, wow, we're really getting kind of approaching the limits here of physics. But what they're doing now with the materials and this artificial intelligence and the design and the way they distribute weight and then change the face performance, it's really impactful. You can definitely see noticeable differences, and then combine that with what's happened on the golf ball side. I mean, golf balls are incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk about a tough design problem. Right?
Yeah.
You're constrained. It's got to be spherical. Right? Obviously. 1.68 inches. It can't weigh more than 45.2 grams, and it's got to be symmetric. And so it's a really constrained design space. Really tough business.
I remember back in the day too. I started my golf career, and I went to the PGA school. I failed out for the record, but I went there, and they had to teach you how to re-whip a golf club, and that's right when the Callaway Big Bertha came out. And I just raised my hand. I said, "Why don't you just sell them one of the Callaways? They go a lot farther, a lot easier to hit." That's part of the reason I failed.
Yeah, there was no hosel, right? S2H2, short, straight, hollow hosel.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That was basically the shaft went through all the way, a bore through the head, and eliminated the hosel, right?
Yeah,
so there's no more whipping.
No, exactly. Yeah, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And it was funny because at that time, the Big Bertha driver was the one that was way too big. You know what I mean? It was hilarious. But now it's like
I think
the size of a 3-wood.
I think it was 293 cc's.
Yeah. And that was a shocker. Remember that day, Mikey? You busted out the old Callaway titanium.
I love the GBB, man, with the ultra light shaft.
Yeah, I noticed you wore the Callaway hat today. Was that for Jeff?
I did. Well, we are Callaway exclusive here at the PBN, and they treat us great. Our rep here is fabulous.
Oh, very good.
We've got all the latest and greatest rental equipment, dude. It is awesome. So
Cool. So after you do that, so that was your first job. Where did it go from there within the Callaway organization?
So I moved kind of from the R&D side into the brand management and the marketing side, kind of product management. So working more globally, and working on kind of more road mapping what's coming up, and looking at markets and different segments or price points and things like that. And where do we have holes in the line, and how can we expand the number of clubs we offer to get more consumers, right, into the brand. And then went back and ran all of R&D after that, and then jumped back to the commercial side again and ran the Americas. I came into that job in 2008. And we were on we had a record first quarter, and we'd come off of a record year in 2007. I think 1.1 billion, something like that. And we were on record pace, and then obviously the Great Recession. And golf clubs are highly discretionary.
Sure.
And they don't wear out. They're
exactly.
semi-durables, right? They're effectively durables, and so it really was tough. And so that job turned more into kind of triage and focus on profitability more than growth. And then finished out in a role that's kind of like a CMO role. I had all the fun stuff. I had all R&D, all marketing, the sports marketing, and all that kind of stuff, and PR, and kind of real fun ride. It was great.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. And, so when you were doing the R&D and stuff, were you down there working with tour players too at the time and that?
Yeah, sure. No, absolutely. I mean, they are the race car drivers, right? We already always described them as race car drivers. So the sensitivity and ability for them to sense small changes in equipment and small benefits, super insightful. Very particular customers. Well, I shouldn't say all of them. Some guys would come in and just say like, man, whatever, it looks like a golf club, and they're just naturally talented. Yeah. And then others guys wanted to go in and bend their own loss and measure to 1/10 of a degree and things like that. So very wide kind of spectrum, but really fun to kind of be exposed to the best in class of anything, right? Whether it's a race car driver, a professional golfer, or any kind of professional athlete. You see someone, it's just like the sound, it just makes a different noise when they make contact with the ball. Both men and women, it's incredible.
Yep. So who was the coolest? I won't ask you who the worst was, but personality, worst to work with, or best to work with?
Best to work with, like someone like Jim Colbert.
Wow.
Yeah, is just a fantastic person, just great and grateful. And that was back in the day when Callaway first got hot, right? The Champions Tour, what was used to be called the Senior Tour. We can't say that anymore, right? It's now the Champions Tour. So you had like Jim Dent and Chi Rodriguez and those guys, and just massive personalities. And just incredible. And they were just fun to be around with. They were thankful, and really respectful, and just really enjoyed the experience of being there with us.
So you're very skillfully and professionally saying that the older, more mature generation was way better to work with than the young, snobby, arrogant kids coming out of college.
Yeah, I guess that's perspective and knowledge that come with age, right? Now that I'm in the segment as well. Right?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's really interesting too, because, everything has its cycles, right? And golf is discretionary. We're on the other end of it, right? Playing, because like you said, when you lose your job or you lose your pay, there's uncertainty, going to tell your wife or your spouse that you're going to go buy a new $400 driver and then go tee it up with your buddies, you're going to end up divorced, right?
Yeah, it's a tough sell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, as far as like the cycles go, and, you talked about it, and, your different roles at Callaway, how did you separate, because we talk about brand a lot, right? Because we try to brand each one of our golf courses, right? And it's such at a micro level. And, I'd say it's actually easier, obviously, too, but it's just different because we're talking to a small audience. Like, how do you take a brand with so many products and try to separate it in a very competitive space?
Yeah. Callaway, I've worked for some great brands. Callaway is just phenomenal. It demonstrated how resilient great brands are. I mean, we tried to screw it up a bunch of times. We launched a couple dogs, and we had some issues. Whatever, every business does. But that was, was us looking at ourselves more. The market always forgave us, and just incredible, because they had an incredible first experience with that brand. Whether it be, hitting the Big Bertha driver and coming back to golf because they had quit because they were just not good at it or didn't enjoy it, or the customer service, never was really talked about it in the early days, but the way that brand treated customers. And I can remember as a kid in high school when I got my first demo Big Bertha, and I think I broke the shaft or whatever, and I was living locally, and I drove up in their headquarters, and they gave me a brand new driver, they gave me a hat and whatever. And so there's this just a learnings around the importance of customer service. Product builds brands, I think. Right. Great product, whether you're selling a service at a golf course, or or the way the golf course is manicured, right? Or if it's a physical good like a golf club. That's the way brands sustain, is by building great products. But the way people treat you, and especially nowadays, it's so crowded.
Yeah.
And you're just starved for good customer service, candidly, right?
Yeah.
Sadly. Go to
Absolutely.
a restaurant, right?
No,
Or
no question.
whatever,
Yeah.
man. I mean,
Yeah.
so I think that's really important to sustainability. Great product first, but it's always people in any business, right? And the way you treat your customer is super important.
Yeah. And I'm kind of curious too, because Joe sort of touched on it, that most of our golf courses, I mean, we obviously have to understand how to build a brand and market to, you know, the visitors or the people that vacation in the areas where we manage to. But when you were, you know, marketing globally, how much were those markets different, and kind of how did you, you know, was there anything you guys ever ran into where you may market to, you know, the Americas a certain way, or like, you know, the US, you do some sort of marketing where that would gain absolutely zero traction, you know, overseas? And was there ever anything like, I don't know if it's the same now, because with the digital age, everything's everywhere. So, you know, an ad you could run here could go viral over there, and they might say, oh, I can't believe they would do that. Now you're in hot water or something like that. Did you guys ever have those kinds of experiences? Were those things that you guys ever considered or talked about?
Absolutely. I mean, golf's a global game. Callaway is a global brand. And it was surprising how much you had to modify the messaging in local markets. The biggest example would be in Asia, as an example. So in the U.S., Callaway was, you know, kind of seen as an average player's brand, obviously. Now it's changed quite a bit with the leadership that came in 2012, and they've done a phenomenal job of building out the tour element, right, and really being attractive to better players, and the product suite has evolved too. But back in the day, it was really kind of a forgiveness brand, right? And in Asia, no one wants to talk, you know, it's not about forgiveness, it's all about distance, 100% about distance. And so that message had to translate more into distance messaging. Europe is just complex and difficult. You know, you got, I mean, there's probably 8 good golf markets, but you got 23 languages really you're trying to trade in, and the cross-border activity is tough. And so I would say, you know, obviously UK was the biggest market, and the US messaging kind of translated fine over there. Asia was the biggest difference, and the Asia team that is still in place. I think most of those guys have done just a phenomenal job of really building Callaway out to be respectful to what its heritage is, right? That who it is, but being relevant in their market.
For sure.
Yeah. No, it totally makes a difference too. And just to step back on the service issue, and I can say wholeheartedly as an operator, when it comes to service, we've done business with all the, you know, ball club manufacturers, and Callaway was always the most pleasant to work with, even with their accounting and their processing and everything. The other ones are the worst. I mean, I bet you of any vendors, you know, I'll say it, Titleist is the worst. Nike was absolute the worst. You know, they couldn't get their bill right, and then, you know, they made you feel horrible about just trying to correct it or if you needed to do something. So I think that you and your team and, you know, Callaway did do a great job at all levels of just being accommodating and friendly, and that's why we do business with them.
Yeah, and I just want to talk about where that came from, right? It was Mr. Callaway himself, right? And he had a saying that was fantastic, and I haven't heard it in a long time. It's called DSPD. Demonstrably superior and pleasingly different. And I think if you can apply that to any business, right? Demonstrably superior, be best at what you're doing, and be a little different, right?
Yeah.
And that was his whole approach to the business. And so whether it be, you know, again, the Big Bertha, and it looked and sounded crazy, he named it Big Bertha.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And what the hell is that, right? He knew how to cut through. He's a cut-through marketer, right? And but just you know, it really wasn't just about the golf clubs. It was about the whole business, and that's how we treated people and customers, hopefully, and it really established. You talk about establishing brand.
Yeah.
You know, that's what the brand was.
Absolutely. Because you had to establish a lot of brands, because, you know, even us right now, we're just talking about mostly the clubs, right? But there's the balls, and then there's many other brands.
Callaway
that fall
owns
under
Odyssey, right?
Yeah.
And there was just dozens of sub-brands, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going after all these different segments in the marketplace, whether it be, you know, a type of player or a price point. And so, you know, you've got all these different naming architectures. And again, we've screwed it up a couple times, made it too complex.
Yeah.
And it's you want to talk about tough. People think building golf clubs, designing, there's a lot of technology and everything. That's like the easy side. Finding a name that feels somewhat different than last year's model, that isn't protected by someone's trademark, that you can spell, that'll translate across the world. That's the hardest part of like building golf clubs is what the heck to name them, right?
Well, Mikey, you've tried every Callaway that came out in the last 5 years, I think, right? So, what do you feel? Which one do you like the best out of all the recent brands?
Yes, the new Apex irons and an Epic Speed driver are pretty dope right now. Yeah, I did for the first time use the TrackMan the other day, and I gained about 4 miles an hour ball speed, and I finally do enjoy playing golf again with these new Apex irons because it does seem to go a lot straighter, further, and more consistent. So
4 miles an hour. That's 10 to 12 yards.
Yeah,
that's legit.
Well, he's airborne.
Yeah,
at
no,
impact.
I get it.
Literally airborne.
Now I can hit it past 250.
I'm excited too. I did hear that Callaway's coming out with like a long drive head that's like got a real like low loft or something like that. So I'm excited to see Mikey get his hands on that because we aren't kidding where he has a full blown baseball walk off every time he swings on the tee.
Happy Gilmore.
Exactly.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So there's
only one speed in this game. That's it, man. But hey, the cool thing about Callaway too is between the balls with the soccer balls and the logos, like we just sold out of for St. Patty's Day.
Oh, nice.
The four-leaf clover balls, and the 4th is coming up, so the flag balls and all that stuff. So Callaway has actually evolved into a pretty cool company as well when it comes to at least something a little bit cutting edge and different from everybody else.
Yeah, no, it's much different than when I was there. It was not cool. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it wasn't. The brand has evolved. It really, again, shows this. It's just a phenomenal brand. Like it's got so much license to kind of grow. Right, but it's still trusted by so many people who had just a phenomenal, great experience with it. Could be decades ago. Yeah. But it's really modernized. The equipment's what they're doing now is fantastic, and just being more relevant to this new generation of golfers, whether that be through the product, as you're talking about, Mikey, right, with the balls and stuff. Like it's a legitimate player in the ball space now.
Yeah.
That was what Mr. Callaway's kind of final dream, right? He didn't see it. He get to see it through all the way. He died in 2001, I think. And Chrome Soft is a franchise on its own now. It's massive. And I play the yellow soccer ball.
My daughters are incredible soccer players.
I just see it better too. And you can see how it's rolling better, and it's fun to. But they're doing great stuff.
Unfortunately, I don't play a ball long enough to know if it's good or not. Usually, I get about 2 to 3 holes out of it.
Just learning about, we've talked a lot over the last few days too, and and I never really gave the ball and the clubs and the things really much thought process, even though I love the game and everything. But, Callaway really seems they built it on the quality of the product. Because you look at other brands like Nike and stuff like that try to get in it and actually just try to buy their way to the top by getting Tour and, Tiger Woods and famous players to play their stuff. I think TaylorMade has suffered, because I think it seems like their model is mostly just trying to buy the coolest people on tour to use their clubs. But it seems like there might be inferior technology, or just the consumer just doesn't attach to them as well.
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I'm not that as close to the kind of market sizing and share nowadays. I would say though, any tier 1 manufacturer is, they're putting out good stuff. Yeah. The suppliers now are so good, and just the materials and from the heads to the shafts to the polymers and the balls. It's just. There's differences, but they're all pretty good. Yeah. And, back in the day, there were definitely some people taking shortcuts, probably.
So when they say Tiger would have won more tournaments, which, gosh, I don't know how that's possible, right? But anyway.
18 majors.
Yeah, with Callaway. Yeah. You think he'd have won more?
Yeah, I do, actually. There's no question that at that time, our equipment was superior to Nike's. And even the special run, he had one-offs right there making for him, and he was very specific about what he wanted. But on the wood side, on the irons, he probably had what he needed, right? It's just everyone can make a short blade, right? But on the wood side, there's no question we had better product at the time. And given that he, kind of hit it all over the planet, I think he averaged in the low 50% fairways hit. Right? Yeah. In that kind of magic era between 99 and 2002 when he won everything, right? Yeah. He would have done better with Cal. There's no question about it.
Absolutely.
But he, we had an image that didn't align. With what he was, right? He was, we weren't seen as the cutting edge athletic.
Right.
Brand
Exactly.
at the time, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting.
And you mentioned it earlier too, with remaining accessible and kind of in tune with the new generation of golfers, and we've talked at length about that on the operator level too. But I can even say that as someone who has only really picked up golf in the last year or so, whenever it comes to looking at new equipment and stuff like that, I've noticed when people have come in and asked, hey, do you know how to set my loft on this sim driver or this, the Titleist driver or something like that? All of their clubs just seem so much more complicated, right? Like I have to look it up. I have to figure it all out. The club head comes off, you rotate it, you do a bunch of things. And I've noticed, we have, just like Mikey mentioned, the Callaway rentals at our place too. And just having the weight that slides on most of the drivers. Like right now it's the Max LS and the Max, I think, have them for the Epics. And just seeing the way that kind of those gears turn and it's labeled right on there instead of having to pull it completely apart. It's got degrees and numbers on it versus just, hey, +1 loft, -1 loft,
right,
draw, bias, all those things. It really was just a lot simpler. Like if I was a golfer that really wanted to get into it and get, kind of get down and figure out how to get my gear to fit me, the thought of having to have 7 different weights to take out and put them in what spots sounds a lot more intimidating to start than just having something that slides or something like that. So
yeah, there's no question that equipment can be intimidating, and it's just an artifact again of the product development cycle, and complexity was an area to develop in that was unconstrained by the rules. There's some natural limits here due to physics about how far and how fast a golf ball can hit, and then you've got rules that constrain the size or the thinness of the face or the weight of the golf ball, the size of the golf ball. So there's some natural barriers of physics that are always going to be there.
Yeah.
And so seeking out innovation, the business has moved more towards complexity and the ability to optimize clubs for individual players. The vast majority of players, though, are never going to really see that benefit. But this is to take like cars as an example. I mean, do you really need driverless cruise control, blind spot, da-da-da? I mean, the stuff that they put in cars is the same thing, right? And there's been more focus on the entertainment systems and the things in the cabin, as opposed to everyone's got a great engine and a 100,000 mile powertrain warranty, whatever. Those are all parity elements, and so you go towards complexity for those best players or best drivers, as an example, right? And those people influence then the masses. And
for sure.
So yeah, but simplifying all that is a tough job, and that's why here's my shout out for go see your local PGA Pro.
Yeah, exactly.
Because someone's got to decipher that stuff for a consumer usually, unless you're one of these total gearheads, right? You're into it.
No, absolutely. And then when you were doing the global branding, how much benefit or ROI did you see on trying to get in the best tour players to go ahead and market your product? I mean, what did you look for, and how did that whole process work?
Yeah, it's a bit like art. It's the marketing mix, right, is an art more than a science, and it's a balance. So, we had you got ad dollars, or you've got professional, or you've got demo days. There's all these marketing elements, and there's a finite budget. And so how do you allocate the dollars? Some companies went after count, right? That's their play. We're the number one. TaylorMade back in the day, wood count. Titleist, clearly, number one ball count. That is their position, right? They said we are the number one by the best players, more of the best players in the world play our stuff. It was very expensive to chase them in that game, so we went a different route, right? And went around technology and kind of advertising around technology and performance. It's changed again, where now Callaway is definitely investing more in tour, and I think it's done really well for the brand. It's made the brand more relatable to more younger and upcoming golfers, which is great. And so they've changed that mix over time, and but it's horse racing too.
Yeah,
I mean, you've got to grab players pretty early, hopefully, and then keep them while you can afford to. But you don't know if the horse is ever going to really run. Right? Sometimes you do. You just got kids coming out. You just know they're winners, but they get paid for that right out of the gate too, right?
Well, I got the best deal in town for you. You know what? If you reach out to anybody at Callaway, you could sign Drew and Mikey here for probably a ham sandwich.
Yeah, I got a dozen balls.
So as you look out in the future, Giz, you had an amazing run at Callaway, and then you decided to go on your own, and you built 2 companies. You did amazing with them. and now you've actually joined forces with someone I have an amazing admiration for, one of probably the greatest entrepreneurs of the 21st century. And one of the properties he has is Valley High, which we've been part of for a long time. It's been wonderful talking to you, working with that too. But when you look out into the future, 5 years from now and 10 years from now, and I know you have your affinity for Callaway, but who do you see? Do you see anybody in particular, whether new or existing, taking the lead in the space in the clubs?
In clubs specifically?
Yeah, in clubs. And we'll do clubs and balls.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's not just because I believe Callaway still, but I see a real hard time of them giving up their leadership position in technology and club design. Titleist makes fantastic product. Yeah. TaylorMade makes really good product. Yeah. Ping, always there, making good product. But I'm convinced that will always be part of Callaway's DNA and kind of corporate strategy to develop the best golf equipment.
Absolutely.
They've diversified their business fantastically into soft goods and things like that, and Topgolf.
Yeah, absolutely.
A great way to diversify the business.
Yeah.
But the core business will always be equipment, and I'm sure they'll remain committed to building the best stuff.
Absolutely. Well, that's a great answer, too. We're going to take a break real quick, and during the break, we're going to play one of our songs, Going Rogue, Rollin' Chrome. We actually made this song a couple years ago. We did it to go ahead and maybe get a little love from Callaway, maybe have Phil, put it on its bag or, share it, and it didn't quite play out. But it is super cool. Go ahead and enjoy that. We'll be back. We have a few more questions, have a little competition with Jeff. See you soon.
Met the fellas on the first tee at the Nash on Sunday morning. Had to buy all of them gear cause Callaway never endorsed me. Here's to the weekend warriors working all week to pay green fees. Got my new Sub-Zero driver, gonna hit it 50 yards past my buddies. Going rogue, pulling chrome, ball so soft, driver so long. Never hook, never slice, 300 bun straight down the pipe. Going rogue like Sergio, play Callaway, you can't go wrong. Smash it dry, stick it close, keep it dry, spin it back. Birdie up, pull it out, feels so good, rolling chrome, going rogue.
Saturdays off for the girls, soaking up sunshine and good vibes. Got my new Apex irons and a 9 a.m. tea time. Making birdies with my girlies, posting pics on Instagram. Feeling sexy like Michelle, we are her biggest fans. Going rogue.
Knock, knock, guess who? All you two are pros. PBN sliding in, we're going rogue. Let me send a message, let's be clear. We work 7 days a week and we love slugging here. Our weekend warriors, that's who I mean. Flirting with the card girl, scoring bogey. Stop listening to all the child prodigies saying, I'm Justin Thomas and I play the Pro V. Grab a tasty chrome, don't be shy. Swing for the fences and did I just hit that guy? Best deal in town is the Callaway Chrome. Cause the Pro Vs, man, those will make you go broke. As an average pro, please take it from me. Not I'm Jordan Speed, then I play the Pro V.
Going rogue. All of my friends at the PBN throw a party, have some laughs. Live it up till the sun goes down. 18 holes goes by so fast. Tip a beer to Travis Matthews for loaning me this shirt. A memory till next weekend. We'll meet back on the first. Cause I'm going rogue, pulling chrome, ball so soft, driver so long. Never hook, never slice, 300 bun straight down the pipe. Going rogue like Sergio, the Callaway can't go wrong. Smash the drive, stick it close, keep it dry, spin it back. Birdie up, pull it out, feels so good, rolling chrome, going rogue.
Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed the Going Rogue, Rolling Chrome. That's a pretty cool video, right?
Yeah, it's
you
great.
got to give us some kudos because we understand that we're not music artists. We're not.
I don't know.
We're not
That's tough.
producers. We're not
Is
anything.
that like 1 million YouTube hits yet? It's pretty good.
Yeah, we're just a couple of knuckleheads.
If
but-
you can't hook up a free driver or something for doing that, Mikey, from the boys, at
Dude,
Callaway,
no
I mean,
doubt,
come
man.
on.
Yeah, and
It's
you
good
got to
stuff.
glam it up, bro. Yeah. So, you left Callaway, started 2 companies, highly successful. Now you're getting it in, and one of the responsibilities is, to Bali High, overseeing Bali High. We've collaborated closely on that too. So how excited you are to get into the golf operational side?
Yeah, it's a totally different side of the business, right? I love golf. I mean, for the record, I didn't start those companies. I helped operate those companies.
Okay,
But, the ones before this great opportunity. But golf is my passion, obviously, and been around it for so long, and to be on this side of it too is really interesting. So a lot to learn, and but again, those principles don't change. Great product and great service, right? Whether you're selling golf clubs or service at a golf course.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So we actually have started doing this a little bit lately. There's this big talk in the golf world, right? About DeChambeau and hitting it so far and all that stuff. And we've talked about it almost the last 3-4 episodes because it's kind of funny to us, right? Because our perspective, we've already declared, which nobody cares about, but it is our opinion, right? So, but I really want yours because you understand the technology, the physics side of it, right? Mm-hmm. So there's the pro DeChambeau and the not pro DeChambeau, the ones that actually think that the rules of golf should change. They should change the club, the technology, and regulate it to stop things like DeChambeau happening.
Yeah.
What's your take on it?
Yeah. Well, I wish we could do a whole nother series of podcasts on this because it was you might recall back in the day, it was a very active topic.
Yeah.
Very passionate topic for Mr. Callaway, which we were very much pro bifurcation of the rules. Yeah. Because we wanted to build golf clubs that had even more distance in them and would allow the average golfers to go out and experience and have fun at the game. But when you put those in the hands of the professionals, they pick up significant amounts of yardage. And our argument is playing out today. The argument we kind of made off the cuff of the USGA was that you can regulate how fast the ball comes up, but you can't regulate. I always used Yao Ming's grandson as an example, as an archetype for what's coming. And now you've got Bryson, where you give that guy an old 43.5-inch X200 shaft on a persimmon head, he's still going to hit it far.
Yeah.
And his grandson is going to be whatever, right? And generations down, the game is going to have to wrestle just with the fact that physicality in sport, and now that golf is an entertainment business, it's not just sport. They're going to have to wrestle with that. Kids are going to get bigger and stronger. They're going to start and they're going to stay focused on golf only. We're seeing it. Look, go watch the NCAAs. Yeah. It's unbelievable. These kids, the kids that usually would have been on a pitching mound or playing tight end, are out now playing golf course, and they're fearless.
Right.
They have no fear, whether it's a putt to win it or to take it over the dog leg.
Yeah.
The game's going to transition. So, you got to grapple with that. You got to get real.
Absolutely.
And so the Bryson thing for me is not a surprise. It's impressive as hell to watch. I don't know that some of the quirkiness of it and all the algorithms, I think he really is that analytical. I think he really does break it down. But you got to respect the commitment to it. He's done it his whole life, and he's been very successful doing it. So what he's doing now with his body and stuff, it's crazy.
So you're pro DeChambeau?
Yeah, I think I am. I'm pro experiment.
Yeah.
I'm pro experiment. Yeah.
You gotta keep pushing things. And I like what you said too about the kids nowadays being fearless. Another one of our stances we've put out there plenty of times is anytime we have, you see it a lot in operating golf and just golf in general, people that play every weekend in skins games and think they maybe still kind of have a shot to sniff going pro or something like that.
Yeah. No chance.
Our combat is, dude, there's about 1,000 12-year-olds playing out there this weekend that will beat you like a drum.
There's 12-year-old girls shooting, averaging 68.5. Okay, at their local golf course. No, get real.
And I can totally see it because the fearlessness in golf. I kind of laughed when you said that because a guy that's a tight end end or maybe even a lineman in football traditionally, his mistake is going to get his quarterback hurt. But now that he moves to golf, hitting it 400 yards out of bounds, he's still getting high fives from his buddies. So a little bit different, right? It's the stakes are a lot lower there.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So we're pro DeChambeau just because we think it's kind of funny that people just when they say it's taking away the skill of the game. To hit it 450 yards through a small gap onto a green 2 straight days in Las Vegas, that's where this controversy started.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty skillful.
Yeah. You still got to put the head on the ball. And think about it, his speed is 25% faster than the average, so it's actually harder to actually make good contact. And his driving results prove that. Now the fact is, remember the term bomb and gouge? It came up about 7 or 8 years ago, right? So he's the new version of bomb and gouge. Yeah. And it's just a different way to play. But, they can also protect golf courses, and you don't have to do it with length. The USGA does it every year. Look at the U.S. Open. Even par is a good score, and it's not because the golf course is 8,000 yards long. It's because they grow the rough out.
Yeah,
so you can manage it, but, it's this natural tension between the entertainment. The tour loves Bryson DeChambeau.
Yeah, of course. No
he
question.
draws spectators, and he's a spectacle, right? Yeah. But the USGA, there's just a natural tension there, and we'll just see how it plays out. It's really interesting.
So the physics part of it, you have a physics degree. Have you ever really kind of gone deep on his thought process and all the angles, club lengths, and all that?
I haven't. Yeah. It's too tiresome for me to try to figure out.
You got enough to think about, right?
No, but again, it works for him.
Yeah.
It's impressive. And, like the theory on the putting and stuff, that's picking up. But on the full swing, having all the irons the same length and stuff is really interesting. Yeah. And, man, I think results, though, prove it's something there.
Yeah. Mike, you must get a kick out of it because we see it at Dobson all the time. The people on the driving range that are, 22 handicaps that are now trying to do the DeChambeau. Yeah. Like the thing. That's hilarious.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, no doubt. I love that time at the Players when he actually pulled out the little hybrid to lay up and they booed him, so he grabbed the heater and pounded it down the fairway. That's awesome. Man.
That is pretty cool. All right, one last question too.
Championship, you gotta love it.
Yeah.
One last question too. Dream foursome. You can play with anybody you want. I know it'd be us, but you can get creative.
Oh boy. Let's see. Mr. Palmer. I had the pleasure of meeting him multiple times. Great. He was a Callaway ambassador from 2001 on. Yeah. He actually really helped out with the USGA quite a bit. Just a phenomenal person. So Mr. Palmer for sure. Tiger.
Cool.
Yeah, and what he's done for the game. I've been on a range with Tiger. I've watched him hit balls. I never played with him. But it's doing things with a 2-iron that just you couldn't imagine. Let's see who else. One of my best friends. He's still a Callaway, probably.
Cool.
Yeah, a guy who runs the test center.
Yeah,
that'd be an interesting 4-ball.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. So who would you take as a partner?
Oh, Tiger.
That was an easy one. Yeah, I was gonna say it. Well, that's very cool. When we ask that question, Tiger is the staple.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely a staple.
Yeah, he's just incredible.
Hey, Jeff.
Yep.
Hey, for the record, bro, I actually picked B-Dubs, Charles Barkley, and Michael Jordan, and I put B-Dubs on my team strategically.
Nice. You'd kill him. You guys would crush him.
And collected at the end. So.
Yeah, you would crush him.
That's the mission.
Yeah.
See, you're smarter than me.
Yeah. That was well thought out. But,
no, it really was.
Hey, well, Jeff, thank you for being on the show. Nothing but success. We definitely look forward to working together for Valley High and doing some amazing things. But congratulations on all your success in your future. So,
hope so.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Right. Hope we made you smile.
From the T to the green, and the P to the B. Skip the plumb bob, drop the plumb bob, lose the plumb bob. Who needs a plumb bob? From the T to the green, and the P to the B.